Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In the last video, we have discussed the importance of the Azure Resource Manager, and we have seen how would you interact and create resourcing using the ARM templates and using GitHub Copilot. In today's video, we are going to learn about the Azure Resource Groups. Before you get started, I want you to think about the Azure environment as a big house. Whenever you are moving from one house to the other and moving your furniture, you just don't put everything in one area. Instead, the house is organized into different rooms. For example, bedrooms for sleeping. This is where you put your bed and your clothes over there. The washing machine and everything else is in the kitchen. The living room, you have the TVs, you have the you have your couch and so on. So this way, the house is fully organized, but also it's easier to look and unlock the rooms. It's easier also when somebody's coming to fix your house, you just can tell them where is the issue in a specific room. Azure Resource Groups is exactly the same way. So I want you to think of the Azure Resource Groups as the room of your Azure house. So whenever you have or you're moving your Azure resources or creating resources like VM, storage, and networking, you need to group all of them into a logical container called resource groups. By the end of this video, you are going to learn about the Azure Resource Groups. We are going to do a dive deep demo. How would you create the Azure Resource Groups, assign permissions, and also create resource groups using GitHub Copilot. Ready to make the Azure cloud your comfortable zone? Let's get started. All right, I'm in the Azure portal. So before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that why I explained so much about resource groups, because I see many customers really just don't pay attention to resource groups, and then when things grow so much bigger, in an enterprise scale landing zone like this, when you have many resources, if you didn't do it right or design it right from the beginning, it will be kind of a messy. So a lot of people just, okay, it's a logical container where I have all of my resources, to be stored in. That's fine. Yeah, that's how it works. It is a folder, right? So if I have many files, then I create a folder to group all of these files together. Why I would do that? Because first is I can give it a permission on a permission, like maybe I would like to share these files or the entire files to someone else, or maybe I would like to delete all of them, or even for managerial stuff, so it simplifies the management of the file. So I can just give it like a specific folder, and this folder can be like, hey, this is my my sales data. Now, whenever I get inside our sales data or Excel files that contain my sales data, right? So sales data / Excel or whatever, or -Excel. So here I know that whenever I go to that folder, all of my Excel files will be here. So the same way for the Azure Resource Groups is it's very unique, and it simplifies the management and the life cycle of the resource. So instead of just like the other cloud providers, you will see a lot of resources but no folder for it. Microsoft uniquely created this to simplify basically the management. Okay, so now in order to be able to create a resource group, you can just click on the hamburger menu from the left side here, and then you should find it in your favorites. If not, then you just can research here resource groups. Okay, and then I just researched that previously, so it's here, resource groups, and then you should be able to see it. Now let's just create one for simplicity here. It's very straightforward, nothing difficult here, but it's so important. So I'm just gonna create a new resource group, and then it will ask you about where is your mother, where is your subscription. Then you select the Azure subscription, and then you could just say hey, this going to have my production servers, and then maybe that lives within or maybe the production, then maybe the database, and then this is gonna be in UK region, and then resource group, and then you could do 001 some customer prefer it to be like 001. So you need to follow certain naming convention. Also, again, like it has to be meaningful, because when you are like, think of it like the code. If you are just writing code with no context, with no meaningful variables, with no meaningful comments, then it's gonna be difficult to hand over to like, you know, someone else or another, or a new Azure administrator. But for you here, when you write it like, you know, following the best practice from Microsoft, then you should be good to go. And I think also we should stick with everything small. That's better, just because, like, you know, for case sensitivity. Again, you can do it like, you know, small or capital, but this is like, you know, according to the documentation, best is to do it like, you know, in like, you know, in small letters. And again, you have kind of sequence. Be consistent on your naming convention. So then you select your region. So this is where your resource is going to live. So which region do you would like to create your resources? Maybe I want to leave it in UK South, and then select. And then here again, following the naming convention, then select. The tags is gonna be covered also in the upcoming series, but then we just click review and create, and then create. Okay, so now we have a resource group. Okay, so let me just like, just sometimes, so we have a resource groups. So it's just showing me here, hey, this is your resource group, this is your Azure subscription, and this is the location of the resource groups. Then you can assign tags, you can delete that resource group, and so on. So here there is no delete button, so you have to click on it, and then you can just delete the resource group from here. Okay. Notice here that every resource group belongs to a specific subscription, and the naming convention here needs to be unique within your Azure subscription. So so if you've used prod blah blah blah, the same, like, you know, naming convention that we have done right now, then you cannot just rename it again 001. It has to be 002. Some Azure resources needs to be globally unique, so it's not only within your Azure subscription, but this one is fine within your Azure subscription. Now if I go back here, let's just create a virtual machine. So I will cover virtual machine in a later video, but virtual machine is basically like, you know, a compute cluster where you can use to, like, you know, create your servers, whether it's Linux or Windows. And then as you can see here, the first two things that always gonna be with every resource that you're gonna create, where is your Azure subscription and where is your Azure Resource Groups. So you cannot create any resource without these two. Okay, so this one for billing, monitoring, for governance and everything, and this one of, like, you know, it has to be like every resource has to be linked to a specific resource group. So now I will select my newly created resource group, and then I will just give it VM01. I can change the region, it's fine, it doesn't really matter, but automatically will pick up the, like, you know, the region based on the resource group that you have created. I don't want any availability zone, that's fine, and then I want to create a standard VM, and I will go with a standard Windows 2025 like data center. Here, this is just selecting the SQ of the virtual machine, and then I will just type my username and password. So next, this is where it's gonna select your disk. So just select an SQ cheaper here. Again, we will talk about disks. And then it will ask you here, where is your virtual network? So again, every virtual machine, because it's infrastructure as a service, you have to manage the virtual network. So it will create a new virtual network. And then, like, you know, this is going to be the subnet. And then you can create a public IP if you want. So we just can create new public IP so that we can remote desktop to this guy. And then this is the network security group and everything. Again, I'm just going through this very quickly because I'm not targeting, like, you know, the virtual machine for a moment. I just wanted to make it more like just related to the Azure Resource Groups. And then, as you can see here, I'm just gonna create this virtual machine. This is just showing me the confirmation that it's gonna create this virtual machine. So I will just hit create. So while this is creating, let me just show you the documentation as well, and I will leave it in the YouTube description. So as you can see here, it's saying use the Azure portal, like, this is the explanation of Azure Resource Group. So what it is, how can you create the resource group? So pretty much what we have explained in the documentation here. So you can go through this as your reference, and this is showing you how would you create and delete resource groups and then assign resource locks, which we will cover later as well. Then if we go back here, this is where it's telling you about organize your Azure resources effectively. So if I zoom in a little bit here, it's gonna talk about the names, like how the naming convention work, the naming rules, and so on. So basically, is it unique within the subscription? Is it unique globally, and so on? And then you need to define the naming convention here. So it's going to be normally the shortcut of the Azure resource, and then the workload name, parent resource, and so on. So this is how you can do it. Like, for example, if you're creating an Azure resource, so this is how you name it. Again, this is just an example. Like, mine was different from the documentation, but again, you got the idea. Is to to design a consistent name, to be meaningful, and also consistent for everything, so that when I engage a lot with customers, and when they just write any names like hello, or sometimes they just write random names, and then I ask them about it, they don't know they don't know the answer, because the meaningful name is not properly used. And then here are the shortcuts. So this is just for every and each resource that you might use. Like, for example, if you are using Azure Cosmos DB, then this is the shortcut. Or maybe this one, this is Cassandra, so Cosmos. And then this is the Redis cache, for example. So Redis, AMR for Azure Managed Redis, and so on. Resource group is just RG. It's somewhere here in the documentation. But it's also there. Okay, so it will show you here, if it's virtual network, for example, I can see it. There's VNet, right? If it's a VM, then VM. Okay, so and so on. It was somewhere here. As you can see, resource groups. This is telling you about the resource providers from the last session, and then RG is the shortcut for it. And then this is where it's telling you how would you name your resources. Okay, so it's giving you some kind of examples, and then from that examples you can just pretty much understand the rules, and is it case sensitive or not, can you use capital letter, can you use small words, small letters. All of this are within this documentation as well. So it's very important to go through it, at least just to have an idea when you design the naming convention in your resource groups as well. Now let me go back here. As you can see, the Azure Virtual Machine has been successfully created. So if I go there, normally the Azure Virtual Machines has many dependencies, okay? So if I wanted to give it a permission, if I have 100, think about it, you have 100 virtual machines. So you need to do it 100 times to just assign maybe virtual machine administrator from the role-based access control here. If I want to add something, so you can just add role assignment, and then you select here. So now we're doing on the virtual machine level. So I'm just here doing something arbitrary, okay? Or maybe let's use something better, easier. I want to give a contributor role. So contributor role that manage this resource only, okay? Now I will do it 100 times, okay? That's the way. But if I want to assign in bulk, I have two ways. Some customers like to do it from the subscription perspective, is to give the user account, the role-based access control from here, contributor, and then that user will be contributor in everything. But this is so powerful, I wouldn't do that. Or you just can do it by the resource group. So by resource group, you can go from there, and then as you can see, all the resources or all the virtual machines dependencies like VM, the public IP of the virtual machine, network security group, the VM card, and then the disk. So all of these are actually part of the VM, except I would say the network security group, because this can be associated to a subnet and so on. But it's required, when you create a resource, it's required to be assigned to a specific firewall. Okay. So as you can see, to give permissions on all of these resources, it will be difficult, okay? So that's why you always just use the Azure Resource Group, and then you could give a, like, you know, a contributor, for example, here from the resource group itself. Okay, so you can see this is the contributor, and then you go ahead and do it. The other way, the other things is that you can, like, you know, so when you give permissions or even policies, like if I go to the Azure policies, again, the policy, I will go in deep, but also when you assign Azure policies as well, you can select your scope is the, like, you know, like if I go to specific policy here, just any policy, okay, I will pick up any policy, and then click on assign a policy. I can choose the whole Azure subscription, or I can also select a resource group. So let me just try to select this one, and then optionally select a specific resource group. Okay, so I don't need to assign on all of the resources, just this resource group. It will have certain policy, like maybe people need to follow certain naming convention, or maybe backup should be enabled on these machines. Now, if I have dev test virtual machines, then I don't need to apply backup policy on the dev test, or maybe I can exclude that that resources or that resource group. So all of this are very nice. So instead of I exclude specific resource, I just can, or manually do it one by one, I just can select this resource group. You got the idea what I mean, okay? So policies are, so managing the permissions is so important. You can manage it from like, you know, the Azure Resource Group, and then all the machines will inherit the same permissions. Policies are the same, but also I can see the cost management as well, okay? So I can just drill down to how much is the production VMs or database is costing me. So I can just go by, if I go back here by the Azure subscription, and then from the Azure subscription, I just can click on cost analysis, and then I can apply a filter on the resource group itself. Now you can see it's the scope here is my Azure subscription. I just can add a filter here. So this filter, I just can say, hey, I want to see the resource group name, and then select my resource group. Again, previously I had the, like when you create a new resource group, it takes some time till it populate here on the, like, you know, in your Azure cost management, but then I can see how much this resource group is actually costing me, okay? And again, I can just change here the billing period, group by billing period, or group by location, or group by type, yeah, and so on, or maybe by tag, which we will talk about the tags. But again, these are the views that I can use and then monitor per resource group. So it's really, really, really good. So to use the resource groups, and it's not an optional thing, but it's just, I'm just giving you the capability why we should use a resource group. Finally, let's use GitHub Copilot to, like, you know, to understand a bit more about this. So for people who are just starting with GitHub Copilot is an AI pair programmer. Again, there will be a dedicated playlist, as I mentioned in the last video. But if I go back here, just to download Visual Studio Code, you just go from here and then search Visual Studio Code, and then you can pretty much download it on any device. It's an open source code editor, like, you know, very popular. So I think you know it. You just can download it for Windows, for Mac, for whatever. So it's just showing you here, like, you know, if you click on, because I'm on Windows, so it's telling me download it on Windows. But if I click on other platform, so it's cross. You can download it on, like, you know, Linux and also Mac OS. So it's very, very powerful code editor. And then you need to have a GitHub account. So GitHub account to be able to subscribe. If you don't have money, you just can use the Copilot free. Or if you want to use the advanced Copilot features, then you can just go for the Pro or Pro Plus and so on. It depends on if you're in a business, then you can just use the Enterprise or the Business. Mine is Enterprise, so I have all the capabilities in there. And there are something what we call the premium requests, which is basically like I can use Gemini, I can, like, you know, ask the agent to do stuff for me. So there's a lot of things, and also bigger window to use the premium features. So again, I highly recommend that you take a look at this. Maybe start with the Copilot free, but you can see here how many premium requests that you can do per month. So for free it's 50, this is 300, this is 1000 per month. So it's very, very big for enterprise, and it's just a programmer that you buy for $39. Okay, so if it's Pro Plus, as you can see, 1,500 as well. Okay. Now let me go back here. Once you subscribed for a GitHub account, and then you enabled your license, what is the license, then you need to install a couple of extensions here. Again, GitHub Copilot works on different code editors, not only Visual Studio Code, but I'm just showing you this because a lot of people asking me how can I enable it in my IDE. So this is how you do it for the GitHub. So you just need to click on extensions here and then just type GitHub Copilot, and then you need to install these couple of extensions, GitHub Copilot and then GitHub Copilot Chat. So once you have that, then you can sign in. You should see something like that, and then sign in with your user account for GitHub, and then you should be good to go. Again, I will just dive deep into all of this in the GitHub Copilot playlist, but for now I just want to, if you'd like to follow what I'm doing, then you just can do it the same way as I'm doing it. Now I can brainstorm here. So there is a lot of modes. First is ask. So I can just ask GitHub Copilot, I need to create 5 or a resource group only, one resource group in Azure. How can I do it? Notice how cool it is, because it's just giving you, again, you have seen it in the Azure portal, you understand what is Azure Resource Groups. The implementation is very simple. Okay, so we're just gonna ask here. So it's telling me here you can use the CLI, and then you can use the Visual Studio Code and so on. So now it's good. Now it's also telling me that I can select I think a region, or did it tell that? Yeah, you need to select the location of the resource group and then the resource group name. So let's now test it. There is a Microsoft. I need to use a proper naming convention according to Microsoft. Also, what is the syntax for Azure CLI? So as you can see, it is just telling me it's not just showing me here how would you create it, and then it's giving me also a reference documentation. I just can say you didn't. What is the syntax as an example? It's actually give me one. Sorry, I didn't notice that, but it's telling me here the syntax is AZ group create -- name, and then reference the resource group, and then the location. Okay, so it's repeated this again. It can tell me, oh, you're stupid. I've already told you. So now, okay, that sounds good. If I want to create 5 resource groups, how can I do that? So as you can see, it's giving me the different approach. How can you do it? So either you can just do it 4 times, run this 5 times, or you can create it through the PowerShell, or you can use it JSON, and so on. So it's giving me different ways. How would you do that? And then I can just paste it into the terminal and then start to create that one. But now that sounds good. I want to use Bicep here. So I'll just, this is just, I'm showing you that you can plan and understand how this is actually works, and even you can ask Copilot to explain properly what is AZ group create and so on. But what is different here is it understands the context here. It can create files, it can create everything. So I'm just gonna ask this guy, I need so now I'm just gonna change this from ask to agent, so which means that it will go and do something on my behalf. So I need to create a one resource group in UK region, using the standard naming convention for testing. Use any in your mind, and this will be for the dev databases. Okay, so now I will just enter that. It will just go and run that command easy group create, and then it will just use my the Azure CLI or my CLI here on my computer. So it will just go ahead and execute that command for me. So as you can see, it's asking me, I need to run this command. Is it okay? So it will do AZ group create and then the name, and then it created the example that I have talked about, and then location is UK South. Then I can click allow. So now it's using my terminal to create this one, and then now it's successfully created. It is showing me, hey, I've created the resource group. So it's verifying and all good, there is no errors. So it's reading my terminal, and then it will also query that resource if it's successfully created. So it will show me as well that, hey, there is a resource group name, this one. If I go back here from the Azure portal and then refresh, then I can see RG DB dev UK South. Again, I can build on that one, but I wanted to show you that this is there as well. So now it's perfect. So maybe I need to create 5 resource groups. So now maybe I need to do it using bicep template. So I can say here, I need to create a bicep template, create 5 resource groups using the same naming convention with 001, 002, etc. So look at this. Now it will start now to get the instructions from you. It will start to build its logic, and then it will build the files here. So as you can see, it is now creating the bicep template, and it's converting these into steps. And if I just browse the bicep template here, let me just scroll down. I can see here, this is gonna be the subscription, the parameter count is let me just click on keep here, keep, and then it's just showing me this is the the target is the subscription. It defined the variables, and then here this is the location string, so UK South. It hard coded this one. I can just also only ask it to just make it very random, but as you can see, it is now successfully written this for me. Now I just can say, okay, go ahead and deploy. So now it created the bicep template for me, and it's stored within my workspace or within my machine. I can also connect to my GitHub account and then ask to push all of this code to GitHub. So it's very, very powerful. Now it will go ahead and execute this bicep template. So as you can see, AZ deployment, subscription, create location, blah, 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 and then use this template file, and then this is the this is the parameter. So now it's gonna go ahead and execute this one, and then we should be good to go. Okay, so I'm allowing this, and now it's here. It's telling me terminate the job. Just 1 second. No. Let's see what did I do here. So let me just try again. Allow. Okay, now and the bicep is currently running. So let me just wait. So as you can see, GitHub Copilot successfully finished, like, the resource group creation. It's showing me here. And then it's asking me, can you allow me to query just to make sure that the resource group has been created? So yes, it's created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's the older one that has been created. So again, it's showing me here that, hey, I have created those, the resource groups. And if I refresh the Azure portal, you can see it's created, starting with 001, 002, 003, and so on. I just either can delete it from here, okay? So if I can copy from the Azure portal and then paste. So that's how you delete it. So if you would like to delete another resource group here, again, let's just use the full screen. You just go to that resource group and then click on it and then copy, paste. Or as I mentioned, you just I can just say here, hey, instead of I go to that virtual machine and manually deleted it, I just can can delete the whole resource group from here. So just ask GitHub Copilot to do that for me. So I want you to get all the Azure resource groups and delete it. Okay, so GitHub Copilot will go ahead and do that for me. But notice here, it's very simple. I think in those simple demos when we are starting, the Azure resource groups and so on, it's good to have also the GitHub Copilot lessons, so that when we go the more advanced scenarios in GitHub Copilot, you're gonna be familiar on how to use Microsoft GitHub Copilot as well. So it's showing me here now, these are the resource groups. Confirm that you would like to delete, yes. So I will say confirmed, and then it will go ahead and delete all of that for me. All right, so as you can see, I think it's deleted everything, but it's just waiting for me here to allow this one. So it will just do easy group lists. Oh, not yet, sorry, I was just doing something else, but here it's just considering resource group deletion. So now it's listing the resource groups in a table format, and then it will go ahead and delete everything. So it's telling me, hey, allow me to delete this one. So all easy group lists for each and so on. So just go ahead and delete everything. So now it's going to delete everything within my Azure subscription. And now I'm happy I saved a lot of time. So just can go back here, refresh. I think I should start to see all of them decreasing one by one. Okay. So let's just wait GitHub Copilot here to finish the job. And then we should be good to go. Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, the status of even the RG001 is deleting because it's deleting the virtual machine. So I will be able also to see that. And as I always say, remember to check the Azure subscription and then check your activity log. So from the activity log here, we can see who deleted what. So I have created the resource groups. So there was write operation or create deployments here. So as you can see, so that's, I can just click on this one and then see what I was trying to create here, and then it's showing you here RG bulk create dev UK South. So it was just showing me that I'm going to create a resource group, and then when I deleted my resource groups as well, it will show you that there was a delete request, and then this is the details of the the deletion as well. I hope this video was useful for you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.